Welcome to this Valuation Masterclass Bootcamp presentation. My name is Andrew Stotts, and we are going to hear from one of our students who's been working over the past 6 weeks on a valuation report, an initiation of coverage report on Fastenal. Now, earlier we heard a sell or buy recommendation, and now we're going to hear a sell recommendation, and it'll be interesting to compare the two. I want to encourage you to ask any questions that you may have. Feel free to ask them by typing them in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. Meanwhile, just to remind you, next Valuation Masterclass Bootcamp starts in 68 days. Over the next 7 days, you can get a $1,900 discount right now. 7 days. Scan the QR code. Use the coupon code BC22LIVE. It's only going to last for 7 days. So grab it while you can. All right, let's get Lee in here. Lee, you ready to rock and roll?
Yeah,
I'm excited to hear your arguments to this. So let me pull up your presentation. We got your presentation up on the screen now, and let me just before we get started, we got some comments coming in. The first one is Moment says, "Nail it." Is that a reference to? Is that a reference to some type of fastener or something like that?
Could be.
And DP says, "A clear sell takes more courage than a comfortable buy. Go rock it." And Roman from Bootcamp 15 says, "You can do it." Madura says, "All the best." Udavir says, "Good luck." Alok says, "All the best, Lee." And Harshil says, "Let's go," and says all the best also. And Superkit says, "Let's go." And you get a clap and a muscle from Pentagon. So I think we're ready. I'm going to pull those off the screen. And for the ladies and gentlemen out there, if you've got questions as we go, just type them in the chat, and I'm going to ask those questions to Lee at the end. Whoa, we just lost him. Hold on. Hopefully his internet comes back. Let's see. Hold on. He should be back in just a second, and we're going to hear his sell recommendation on Fastenal. So just give it a second. I think he was having some internet connection problems, and I think he's back. Hold on.
Okay.
All right. Little disconnection. Did you kick a wire or something like that?
No, I'm staying still. I'm holding my breath.
Okay. Let me see 1 second. Yep. Okay. So now it's up on the screen, and I am going to remove myself, and then you take it away. So I'm going to remove myself now and then take it away. Go.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Lee Ribblesworth, and I'm very happy to be here. My equity valuation report on Fastenal Company. I initiate coverage on Fastenal with a sell recommendation based on a target price of $35, implying a downside of 27%. My target price is derived from a DCF-based valuation using a weighted average cost of capital of 8.6% and a terminal growth rate of 3%. I have 3 great stories to dig into. We have new contracts miss key targets as manufacturing slows. On-site strategy and product mix cause a shift to lower margin business. Competition is heating up, and increased capex will be needed to stay on top. We will also have a look at some risks, such as weak manufacturing and tariff impacts. Okay, so the company background. The US is generating 83% of revenue. Fastenal offers a wide range of industrial and construction supplies. Over 70% of sales are to B2B customers in the US manufacturing industry. Fastenal's local service model leverages 1,650 branches and 1,000 locations. Fastenal supports its customers with a complete supply management system driven by its proprietary Fastenal Managed Inventory FMI technology suite. Now, my first story. New contracts miss key targets as manufacturing slows. US manufacturing sentiment remains negative, creating challenges for many of Fastenal's B2B customers. The ISM has been in contraction for 10 of the past 12 months. Under these conditions, Fastenal is falling short of its annual new on-site contract target of 375 to 400 new accounts. In 2024, reached 358, a narrow miss at 95% of their target. The shortfall has become more pronounced in 2025, with an estimated 165. The company is tracking at just 86% of the mid-year prorated target. This measurement, it can serve as a leading indicator of potential revenue weakness. This softer demand is further corroborated by the company's decision to cut its installation forecast for FastVend and FastBin devices by 11% for the remainder of 2025. I expect weaker economic conditions to persist through 2025, with potential improvements in 2026. I forecast revenue growth of 6% in 2025, which is a testament to the company's resilience. However, my view remains nearly 3% below the current consensus. The on-site strategy and product mix is causing a shift to lower margin business. Fastenal's key growth strategy is to expand its on-site locations. However, this shift appears to be putting pressure on the gross profit margin, which has been slowly declining at a CAGR of 1% over the past 3 years. The margin squeeze is two-pronged, moving towards large national and on-site accounts, which can command better pricing concessions. Second, the trend in product mix is margin products such as safety supplies are leading against the higher margin fasteners. Since 2022, the fastener category's share of total revenue has declined by 4%. These factors are shaping a lower profitability profile. I forecast a slow and steady decline in gross profit margin to 43% by 2029. The competition is heating up. Increased capex will be needed to stay on top. Key rival has recently rolled out upgrades to their own on-site inventory model, Keep Stock. Grainger is in direct competition to capture the large on-site contracts. There is also an ever-present danger from Amazon Business, whose razor-thin margins can attack the smaller, non-contract transactions. During the second quarter earnings call, management acknowledged the need to improve its e-commerce operations. I project capex to grow at a CAGR of 9% through 2029 to reinforce their competitive position. Excuse me. Now let's take a look at the capital goods industry. This is a $6 trillion cyclical industry. It powers global infrastructure, automation and defense through machinery and industrial supplies, ranging from coffee roasters to aerospace systems. General Electric is the largest player by market cap at $284 billion, and Fastenal is ranked 10th with a market cap of $56 billion. The US captures a 54% share of the global market, with revenue set to grow 6% by 2026, according to S&P Global. We are forecasting mid-single-digit growth over the next 4 years for the industry. If we look at the most recent quarter data, we can see that in the second quarter 25, total revenue increased 9% year over year to just over $2 billion, setting a new milestone for quarterly sales. Gross margin remained flat year over year at 45%, and the operating margin gained nearly 1% year over year to 21%. The growth in revenue can be attributed in part to pricing actions, which added nearly 2% to the top line. These actions were taken tariffs, adding up to 8% over the course of 2025. If we look at our consensus estimates, we can see that over 68% of annual view on Fastenal, the mean target price of $41 indicates a potential downside of 14%. Consensus forecasts an increase in revenue growth from almost 3% in 2024 to nearly 9% in 2025. Now, I would like to discuss the company's revenue streams. The US is the core market for industrial and construction supply. In 2024, Fastenal reported reported revenue of $7.5 billion, a modest 3% increase from the previous year. Geographically, the business is heavily concentrated in the United States, which generated 83%. Canada and Mexico added 14%, while other countries account for 3%. Fastenal Managed Inventory, FMI, accounts for 43% of total revenue. FMI is a suite of technology-driven services bringing supply chain management directly to the customer's facility. FMI products include FastVend, automated vending, as well as FastBin and FastStock, which monitor inventory levels and automate replenishment. Fastenal has three main product lines: fasteners, which represent 31% of products sold, safety supplies account for 22%, and the others make up 47%. The others category comprises of tools, janitorial supplies, and cutting tools, plus several other smaller new categories. Moving on to the FVMR investing framework, overall, Fastenal is attractive and top-ranked relative to 1,640 non-financial companies in the USA. We consider fundamentals, valuation, momentum, and risk. Fundamentals is top-ranked due to strong profitability and impressive asset turnover. Valuation, Fastenal is placed below average with a high price-to-book multiple compared to other non-financial, and liquidity ratios are deemed low risk. The world-class benchmarking, profitable growth has consistently ranked in the top decile, meaning it was placed in the top 10% of 1,370 large industrial companies worldwide. This is a world-class performance. Profitability is the key driver, consistently ranked at number 1. This is derived from strong asset efficiency and strong expense control. Growth indicates room for improvement with a slightly below average ranking at number 6. If we look at the profit and loss statement, you can see in my forecast, anticipating revenue growth of 6% in 2025, which brings us to nearly $8 billion. I see that perhaps by 2029, that figure could rise up to 9.9 billion. We'll move down to some ratios to have a look at. The gross profit margin ratio, I am forecasting a slight and steady decline to 44% by 2027, and also anticipated decline down to 19% by 2027. If we look at the free cash flow data, we can see that the capex I have accounted for there growing at the free cash flow to the firm is robust. In 2025, I forecast it just at 1 billion, just over 1 billion, and I believe that could grow up to 1.4 billion by 2029. Looking at the relative valuation, Fastenal's PB to ROE ratio of 0.22 is in line with the world industrial sector, at a discount to the USA and at a premium to Asia ex-Japan. On a PB to ROE basis, Fastenal could appear to be fairly valued. Fastenal's PE to growth ratio of 5.8 for 2025 is at a significant premium compared to all other regions. Using this metric, it could indicate that Fastenal is actually overvalued. Now we'll take a look at my valuation and target price. So I assume a risk-free rate of 2.5% and an equity risk premium for the USA market of 7.5%. This results in an estimated market return of 10%. I assume a beta of 0.9%. Fastenal has a very low amount of debt in its capital structure, a WACC and discount rate of 8.6% and a yield rate of 3%. In my basic results in a value of $35 per share, free cash flow to the firm method. This represents a 27% downside. In my sensitivity analysis on the following page, the optimistic case assumes a terminal growth rate of 4%. This reaches a target price of $38, 21%. And in the pessimistic scenario, the terminal growth rate, this results in an equity value of $32, indicating further downside of 33%. And there you can see the sensitivity analysis. We should also consider some risks. Weak manufacturing and tariff impacts can negatively impact profitability. Fastenal's financial performance is closely correlated with the health of the broader manufacturing and construction sectors. A cyclical downturn in industrial activity, unfavorable changes in trade policies, or tariffs could negatively impact profitability. Pricing pressure from competition is present. The industrial distribution market is highly fragmented, significant pricing pressure from a wide range of competitors. Plus, there's always supply chain disruptions and cybersecurity. They could be key operational risks. This concludes my presentation, and I welcome any questions that you may have. Oh no, I don't know if you can hear me.
I have my microphone off there. Sorry about that. We got a lot of questions coming in, so I want to go through those questions.
Okay.
But I'll start off with some of mine first. My first question is, you've shown us, that you're a little bit lower on your forecasts for growth than consensus, let's say by half. And you've got a 27% downside versus 14 or so downside for consensus. To what extent is what you fear already in the price, or are you thinking that consensus is going to have to downgrade from where they are?
I believe that consensus will be having to consider that they will eventually have to downgrade from where they are. I believe that perhaps they've got a little bit too far ahead of themselves at the moment.
And the second question is, Trump's got a tightrope that he's walking where he runs the risk of slowing down the economy with tariffs and other things. But on the other hand, he's got the tool of trying to get the interest rate down through the Fed, which you can see he's trying to push pretty hard. And on the other thing you can say is that maybe tariffs have turned out just to be a bargaining tool, not a massive, impact. And I'm just curious, how do you balance those different things as you think about your forecasts?
It's extremely tricky. I do foresee a lower rate environment and perhaps an upturn next year as a result of that. I think the risk-on attitude could change. The whole tariff scenario, I think the market isn't actually, they're almost ignoring it now. It knows that they can cope with the tariffs. It knows that a lot of hot air has been blasted and is a bit more, was very uncertain for a while, but it's become a bit more, the market's become used to the rhetoric now. So yes, I think the economy has suffered. I think it will continue to suffer for a few more quarters, and then perhaps in a lower rate environment, stimulation, and we could see more upside later on towards the end of the second half of next year, perhaps.
Okay, Roman has asked, how important is Eaton as a partner, and could they become a competitor?
I'm sorry, who was a partner?
Eaton, E-A-T-O-N.
E-A-T-O-N. I would have to be honest and say I do not know.
Roman's been studying Fastenal quite a bit, I think. Hold on, let's see. Moman says, why Fast is shifting to on-site while it appears to be lower margin?
They've been shifting for a while, for a good few years now. This is the strategy that they've spearheaded. They were reducing their branches. They've now reached a level where they feel comfortable with the amount of branches they have and the chosen strategy to go forward. When we get into a situation where the economy is stronger, we may well see a return to the fasteners, the sales in fasteners coming back in line. So that may adjust things back up.
And following on from that, Madura says, talking about this shift to lower margin on site, she says, how can they protect margins and avoid a low return business model long term?
How can they protect margins? This is the whole thing. I believe that they actually are going to be struggling. The previous high margin business, especially with this projection going forward of the on-site strategy, it includes a lot of the products that can be deemed as MRO products. They are very low margin. I believe that actually the gross margin and the operating margin probably have peaked, and I don't think they can effectively increase it that unless it would take some sort of strategic change, a total shift, I believe.
And Moman asks about, can Fastenal make a bold move into international markets outside the US, and that adds a new S-curve or a new opportunity?
It could do, for sure. They have some presence. It's very minimal. The CEO has discussed it, but it seems like they're quite hesitant. But certainly it is possible.
So Harshil is asking about, when you expect the share price to hit 35, and we're going to say, well, your target price is 12 months.
When do I expect it? I would say that.
So I guess the question is, there's a kind of another question too, is this the idea of, you think, if I look at share price of Fastenal, it's pretty steady. Seeing it make a 27% fall, in a short period of time seems unlikely, but is that the way you see it playing out, or do you see it as a steady, slow fall?
I don't see it as a fast drop. I think that the analyst, I think once we see Q3 earnings coming out, I have a gut feeling that they're not going to be as attractive as the market is pricing in. I wouldn't expect any sharp sell-off, but I do see, my thoughts are that in time, 6 months horizon to 1 year, we'll see a revert to mean, and I think we'll see a pullback on the price.
And Superkit says, considering Fastenal's competitors like Grainger, Home Depot entering this market in the last 4 to 5 years, but Fast is still growing and has strong profitability, what is causing competitors not to be able to catch up?
Well, Fastenal was first mover. Grainger, for example, actually has a higher revenue than Fastenal. It covers other products, but Fastenal is losing ground, and this is why I think it really needs to stay relevant. Grainger has gone, borrowed their model and is going into sites as well. It has the vending machines. So actually, last year, Grainger did 14 billion revenue, whilst Fastenal did 7.5. So their competitors are large, and they need to be wary of that.
Here's a question from DP. I thought this was a good one. Competition has been rising for years, including Amazon, yet Fastenal's gross margins have stayed resilient. What's different now that makes you confident that's going to change this time?
They have been resilient, but the key shift here is the product mix and the on-site strategy. It's got to the point now where on-site is the be-all and end-all, and the clients involved there, they have much more tighter pricing. So it's in the past, yes, it has been very resilient and it's worked well, and it's been to their benefit. But they've obviously weighed it up. But the direction they're going now is causing the shift, and I believe it will continue.
Another question comes from Pentagon, who says, can you elaborate on why CapEx is needed for future growth? Like, what is the drivers of that CapEx?
Yeah, I mean, predominantly they need to invest in e-commerce. It's I got the idea from the earnings call in which the CEO sounded very hesitant, and also actually kind of admitted that they were a little bit off the mark with their e-commerce, and they could do a lot better. So I believe that if they do want to fight the competition, fight Grainger, fight Amazon Business for the MRO products, they will need to actually invest not heavily, but they will need to invest to those levels to stay relevant.
Okay, and CG Tay has asked, can you talk more on the sensitivity analysis? Shall we look at that?
Sure. Yes, can do. Okay.
Yeah, maybe just pick out one or two highlights here that you think are interesting.
Okay, well, the most wide-ranging that I could see was the terminal growth change. But let's have a look at the gross profit margin. So if we can increase to, say, 46%, which would be 2% change, then the upside is $36. And in the bear case for that gross margin going down to 42%, we would be looking at $32. Whichever thing change, we could change sales growth, gross margin, everything.
Whoops, seems like we lost him. We got so many good questions coming in, and so I hope we can get him back. Lee, I'm going to bring you in with back in. Here's some more questions. Harshiel says, don't you think EBIT margin expected to increase? As in their recent annual report, they said they're going to introduce AI sourcing, which will provide SG&A long-term leverage. Not sure if you caught that.
I only caught the very end of the question.
The question was, don't you think EBIT margin is expected to increase? As in their recent annual report, they said they're going to introduce AI sourcing, which will provide SG&A long-term leverage.
I'm so sorry. I can't actually hear.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to cut it there because the connection seems bad. So
apologies.
I'm going to just say for a moment, we had a bad connection there, unfortunately. But that was a great presentation by Lee. There's so many great questions that have come in. Alok says, if you're calling for slowing growth, how do you reconcile that with Fastenal's continued market share gains? That's an interesting, question. Another one is Fastenal by Tanner Cho says, relies on on-site branches to relay its low-value, high-weight fastener products. What is your outlook on its branch strategy? And DP is asking, cyclicality is always a risk, but Fastenal has flexed its variable cost structure to defend margins better than peers. Why would this be different? And Vito Alexander says, Fastenal has shown great profitability. Do you find it would change in the future with your sell recommendations? So a lot of great questions. I want to congratulate Lee on that presentation. And just a reminder to everybody that if you want to build a competitive advantage in company valuation like Lee, then join us at the Valuation Masterclass Bootcamp. In the next 7 days, you can scan this QR code or you can go to valuationmasterclass.com/bootcamp and you'll get a $1,900 discount that will last 7 days. You use the discount code BC22 Live. It'll never be that big of a discount after the 7 days are up. My name is Andrew Stotz, and I want to thank you for joining us and for all your excellent questions. And I want to thank Lee for his great work. And I hope to see you in the next Valuation Master.